Welcome to Must Have Missed It, the podcast about how James has hardly seen any movies.
Play dumb. Who's James? Not that dumb.
What's that famous movie you're always quoting, the one you and your friends can't stop referencing? Yeah, there's a really good chance James has never seen it.
Well, with great ability comes great accountability, so I'm trying to do better.
So I'm holding him accountable, and that's why we're here. I'm forcing James to watch a whole bunch of movies I think he probably should have seen already.
Everyone knows the best way to learn is under intense, life-threatening pressure.
Very true. I'm Josh, and I just washed my hands. That's why they're wet. No other reason. And this is my co-host.
I'm James, and sometimes I let matches burn down to my fingertips just to feel something. Anything.
If you want to feel something, anything, follow this podcast on Spotify or Apple Podcasts or wherever you get them. We're not super particular. Just make sure you're listening. You can also find us on TikTok, where we're still doing nothing. Sorry. Eventually. You can also send us your emails at musthavemissed@gmail.com or follow us on Instagram at musthavemissed. Follow us on Twitter at musthavemissed or join the Discord or all of them. How about just do all of them?
Just something.
James, what movie are we talking about today?
We are talking about Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse.
And what did you know about this movie going into it?
Absolutely nothing. I didn't even know that it was based on any kind of source material whatsoever.
Awesome.
It's completely brand new to me.
Clean slate. So why did we pick this movie?
So it checks the box for animated film that we want to try to do once a season, and if I'm not mistaken, this is your favorite superhero movie of all time.
My absolute favorite superhero movie of all time. In addition to that, the timing is perfect because Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse Part 1 will be releasing on June 2nd.
Yeah.
I am super hyped for this movie. I can't wait. It's going to be so good. This movie's just one of my absolute favorite movies. Again, my favorite superhero movie, one of my favorite animated films of all time. Can't say I'm super surprised James hasn't seen it. Like he said, he literally never even heard of it prior to me bringing it up for this podcast. So I'd put it like a 4, maybe a 5 on the how is James not seeing this movie meter. You know, it did pretty well in the theaters, was pretty well received. Critically solid response. So not a movie that should be totally under the radar, but also not a big enough, not a Avengers Infinity War, that right. Level of movie that, it's hard not to have accidentally seen at least. So Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse, you all know the drill, right? Peter Parker, bitten by a radioactive spider, gets superpowers, sees his uncle die in front of him, decides to become Spider-Man, protecting New York City from all sorts of criminals and supervillains. But that's not who we're here to talk about. We're talking about Miles Morales, created by Brian Michael Bendis and Sarah Pichelli, who first appeared in Marvel's Ultimate Fallout #4 in August 2011. Miles is the biracial son of a Puerto Rican mother, Rio Morales, and an African-American father, Jefferson Davis. Tough beat on that name, by the way. Miles Morales would go on to be Spider-Man in the Ultimate Universe, a separate universe from Marvel's main continuity. When the Marvel Ultimate line of comics ended, Miles had become a popular enough character to be brought into the new main Marvel universe. His introduction initially in the Ultimate Universe sparked some controversy from the, let's say, usual suspects. Lou Dobbs, of all people, go figure, was shocked that Marvel would kill off, quote, a white orphan from Queens, end quote, and replace him with a character who is, quote, half Latino and half black. Yes, Lou Dobbs. How dare they?
Cry me a river, Lou.
Marvel was labeled by The Guardian and Culture Map Houston as pandering to political correctness. People didn't use the term woke back then, but if they did, that's what they would have been calling Marvel. So nothing has changed. Phil Lord and Christopher Miller, known for the Jump Street movies, Cloudy with a Chance of Meatballs, and the Lego Movie, were approached in 2014 by Sony Pictures Entertainment about doing an animated Spider-Man movie. They agreed on the conditions that the movie would be an adaptation of comic writer Dan Slott's 2014 Spider-Verse storyline and would feature Miles Morales as the lead. The film was announced by Sony at the 2015 CinemaCon, with Lord and Miller producing alongside Avi Arad, Matt Tolmach, and Amy Pascal, who would later be replaced by Christina Steinberg. Bob Persichetti was chosen by Sony to direct the film, but two more co-directors, Peter Ramsey and Rodney Rothman, would be added to the film by the time the film was completed. The film would also exist separately from any live-action Spider-Man films, though a few elements of the older Spider-Man films, the Sam Raimi movies, did make it into this film. Phil Lord and Rodney Rothman are the credited screenwriters for Into the Spider-Verse. This is the first film that Phil Lord had written without Christopher Miller. The decision to focus the movie on Miles Morales was a pretty easy one, since there were already, I believe, 6 live-action movies featuring Peter Parker as Spider-Man.
Yeah.
The creator of Miles Morales, Brian Michael Bendis, was brought on as a consultant for the movie. The original script was packed with ideas, like a spaghetti on the wall sort of strategy, see what sticks, which would allow them later to shape the film, the way that it would work the best. They ended up rewriting a lot of the third act a year prior to its release because they felt like it was a little too much like the other Spider-Man movies. Gwen Stacy was originally written into the script to be in a romance with Miles, but that idea was scrapped and they were going to remove her from the movie. Luckily, producer Christina Steinberg was instrumental in keeping her in the movie prominently, since she was going to be cut since that plotline got dropped. The cast for this movie is stacked and includes Shameik Moore as Miles Morales, a bright young teenager bitten by a radioactive spider who is forced to learn that great ability comes with great accountability. Jake Johnson as Peter B. Parker, a.k.a. Spider-Man, an older, more jaded alternate universe version of Peter Parker who becomes an unlikely mentor to Miles. Haley Steinfeld as Gwen Stacy, a.k.a. Spider-Woman, a young teenager bitten by a radioactive spider who becomes a superhero, but is a loner after she was unable to save the life of her best friend, Peter Parker. Brian Tyree Henry as Jefferson Davis, Miles' police officer father who is tough on Miles because he knows that his son is capable of greatness. Liev Schreiber as Wilson Fisk, a.k.a. Kingpin, crime boss, corporate figurehead of Alchemax, and the catalyst for the film's plot. Mahershala Ali as Aaron Davis, a.k.a. Prowler, Miles' uncle, whose life took a very different path from his brother Jefferson's. Lily Tomlin as May Parker, Peter Parker's aunt, who is critical in bringing together the Spider Crew. Luna Lauren Velez as Rio Morales, Miles' mother, who is a nurse and is barely in this movie. Zoe Kravitz as Mary Jane M.J. Parker, the wife and ex-wife of Peter Parker and Peter B. Parker, respectively. Catherine Hahn as Dr. Olivia Liv Octavius, a.k.a. Dr. Octopus, head scientist at Alchemax and the designer of Kingpin's Super Collider. Chris Pine as Peter Parker, a.k.a. Spider-Man, the OG Spider-Man of Miles' universe, R.I.P. my guy. John Mulaney as Peter Porker, a.k.a. Spider-Ham, an alternate universe version of Spider-Man. He was an anthropomorphic spider bitten by a radioactive pig who became a pig, who's also a reporter for the Daily Beagle. Kimiko Glenn as Penny Parker, a.k.a. Spider, a young girl from an alternate future universe who has a telepathic link with a spider that helps her co-pilot her father's robot. Standard anime shit. Nicolas Cage as Peter Parker, a.k.a. Spider-Man Noir, a black and white private detective version of Spider-Man from an alternate 1930s era universe. Stan Lee also appears posthumously in cartoon form as a shop owner who assures Miles that the Spider-Man costume that he purchased will absolutely fit him eventually. The film score was composed by Daniel Pemberton. However, the majority of the music in the film was chosen to be representative of what someone Miles' age would actually listen to. So it features artists such as Sway Lee, Nicki Minaj, Juice WRLD, Vince Staples, Post Malone, and Ty Dolla $ign. The soundtrack for the movie was released the same day as the film opened, and a separate album featuring the film's score was released on December 17, 2018. There was also A Very Spidey Christmas, a 5-song EP of Christmas songs performed by Chris Pine, Shameik Moore, and Jake Johnson, which is based on a joke in the first act of the movie. Into the Spider-Verse was designed intentionally to look as much like an actual comic book as possible. The process at Sony Pictures Imageworks began with 2 animators spending a year assembling 10 seconds of test footage that met the expectations of the film's producers. This created the template for the look of the film, and soon there were 60 animators working on the project. By August of 2018, there were 142 animators working on it, and the number peaked at 177, which was the largest crew Imageworks had ever assembled for a film. The look of the film was created by having artists draw 2D images on top of the rendered 3D frames. Many of the techniques used by the 2D animators originated in comics or were closely associated with comics, such as using crisscross lines to create shadows and texture, the use of Ben-Day dots and Kirby crackle, using motion lines to emphasize movements, and displaying onomatopoeia on screen. The film also made use of motion smearing rather than motion blur, so that pretty much anytime you pause the movie, it looks like it could be a frame from a comic book. There's also the way the frame rate of the animation varies from character to character and scene to scene. An example of this would be the scene where Peter B. Parker and Miles Morales are swinging through the woods. Miles is animated at 12 frames per second, and Peter's animated at 24, which makes Peter look a lot more coordinated than Miles, which makes sense. What made the animation even more difficult is not only are the frame rates different for characters and things like that, but the literal animation style is completely different for several of the different characters in this movie. So Spider-Man Noir is literally a character who exists in shades of gray. Penny Parker's character design is inspired by Japanese anime and manga, and Peter Porker is basically a Looney Tune, right down to the stolen catchphrase. Putting all these characters on screen seamlessly is a really tough ask, even for a team of 150 plus animators. So for this movie to have been delivered on time and to be of such a high quality is truly a testament to the talents of the animators, so props to them. Sony premiered Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse at the Regency Village Theater in Los Angeles on December 1st, 2018. They included tributes to the creators of the original Spider-Man, Stan Lee and Steve Ditko, both of whom passed away in 2018. R.I.P. The film was released worldwide on December 14th, 2018. It went on to gross $190.2 million in the U.S. and Canada, and another $194 million elsewhere, for a worldwide total of $384 million on a production budget of about $90 million. So, not too shabby. In addition to being a hit with audiences, critics like this film a lot. It is certified fresh with a 97% approval rating on Rotten Tomatoes, which means everything. I mean, that's the only thing that matters is Rotten Tomatoes scores. It was especially praised for its visuals, which many critics felt were revolutionary. They were right. Into the Spider-Verse would go on to win numerous Film Critics Association awards for Best Animated Film, as well as the Golden Globe, the BAFTA, and the Academy Award for Best Animated Feature. Luckily for everyone on planet Earth, the first film did well enough to justify a sequel or two. Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse Part 1 will be released on June 2nd, with Part 2 currently scheduled to release on March 29th, 2024. Let's fucking go.
Nice.
So enough about this movie. What is this movie actually about? The film opens with the Spider-Man recap, how he got his powers, a list of his accomplishments, and what makes him special, which is that no matter how many times he gets knocked down, Spider-Man always gets up. We cut to Miles Morales, the young teenage protagonist of the film, running late for school. He ends up riding with his dad Jefferson in his police cruiser, and Miles makes it clear that he does not like his new school. Jefferson tells Miles that he made a commitment, and Miles should stick to it or he'll end up like his Uncle Aaron. Jefferson then completely embarrasses Miles in front of the school. We get a montage of a Miles school day, and he gets assigned a personal essay after a teacher realizes that he's trying to intentionally flunk out. Miles sneaks out of his dorm room later that night to see his uncle, and they go into the subway to put up, some wall art. Afterward, Miles is bitten by a very glitchy spider and returns to his dorm room. In the morning, his pants don't fit correctly, and the voice in his head is very loud. He meets Gwanda, and the shoulder touch goes poorly, as expected, as Miles is unable to remove his now spider-powered hand from Gwanda's hair. Miles is accused of sneaking out and runs away using his new powers to escape, but he's seen by Gwanda. Miles realizes that he might be a spider person, so he goes to find the spider that bit him. He ends up walking into a fight between Peter Parker, Spider-Man, and Green Goblin. Miles and the Peter Parker Spider-Man interact, and Peter realizes that Miles is like him. He promises to train him after this fight is over. Spoiler, he won't. Kingpin turns on his machine to tap into alternate universes, and Spider-Man gets dragged into it, drawing more spider people into Miles' universe. Peter gives the USB thing to Miles, and then...
Surprise, motherfucker!
Kingpin kills Peter Parker. Wild shit. Miles is seen leaving and hunted by Prowler, but he escapes and goes home. Miles suggests to his mom that they leave Brooklyn, but she tells him that their family does not run from problems. Spider-Man's death is announced on TV, and we get a montage of mourning. Miles gears up for his new life as Spider-Man and begins training. He falls and breaks the USB thingy and then goes to Peter Parker's grave to apologize to Peter for failing him. While there, he sort of meets Peter B. Parker, an older version of Peter from a different universe, and he accidentally zaps Peter B. unconscious. The police show up, and Miles has to weekend at Bernie's Peter B. through the city, fleeing from the police. Peter B. wakes up from his concussions, and Miles tells him about the super collider and the goober and the threat to the city. Peter B. grudgingly decides to help, and they plan their infiltration of Alchemax in order to make another goober. They make it to the office of Olivia Octavius, lead scientist at Alchemax, and she reveals herself to be Dr. Octopus. Peter B. and Miles flee with her computer, but they're eventually cornered. Gwanda, whose real name apparently is Gwen, swings in to save them, revealing herself to be the Spider-Woman of her universe. Gwen, Miles, and Peter B. go to Aunt May's house, and she leads them to the Peter Parker version of the Batcave, where they're introduced to Spider-Man Noir, Penny Parker, and Spider-Ham. They all agree to work together to destroy the Collider and return themselves to their own universes. They test Miles and decide that he's not ready to be a spider person. He goes to his Uncle Aaron's looking for some comfort, but...
Surprise, motherfucker!
Aaron is the Prowler. Miles flees with the Prowler right behind him. He escapes initially, but he's tracked to Aunt May's house by the Prowler, Scorpion, Doc Ock, and Tombstone. Prowler's about to kill Miles, who reveals himself, preventing Prowler from killing him. Kingpin then shoots Prowler, and Miles flees with him, who dies in an alleyway just before Jefferson arrives on the scene. Miles goes back to his dorm room, and the Spider Crew attempt to console him. The Spider Crew leaves, telling Miles that he's no longer part of the Spider Crew. Aww. Peter B. gives Miles one last chance to prove that he's up to the task ahead, but Miles fails, so Peter B. ties him up and leaves. Jefferson comes by Miles' dorm room to talk to him, but Miles can't respond. Afterwards, Miles is finally able to gain control of his powers. He goes to see Aunt May and gears up for real. The Spider Crew arrives at Fisk Tower, where there's a celebration of Spider-Man's life happening. They're able to easily sneak in when they notice that all of the servers are dressed as Spider-Man. Kingpin orders the scientists to start the Collider, and the Spider Crew swings into action before being ambushed by Kingpin's goons, including Doc Ock, Tombstone, and Scorpion. Doc Ock is about to take out Peter B., but Miles arrives just in time for the clutch save. The Collider is creating chaos, pulling buildings and trains and whatnot into Miles' universe. Miles and the Spider Crew fight off the last of the goons, but Penny's robot is destroyed. Luckily, the Spider's fine. Miles finally gets full penetration with the Goober, and the Spider Crew return to their home universes. Miles goes one-on-one with the Kingpin, and Miles proves that he's the real deal by refusing to stay down, destroying the Collider, and saving the multiverse. Miles has a heart-to-heart with his dad on the phone before appearing as Spider-Man and hugging Jefferson. The movie ends with Miles recapping his time as Spider-Man and telling the audience that anyone could be Spider-Man. You could be Spider-Man. You.
Even you.
You. The end. And if you stick around for the post-credit scene, you're in for a chuckle if you appreciate the Spider-Man pointing meme. Quotes from the notes, sir. What you got?
So it's that a lot of my quotes from the notes, I think you said yours were as well, were actually quotes.
Yeah,
There's so many quotable moments in this movie.
for sure.
Let's see. So a couple Peter B. Parker moments that I really enjoyed were when they're doing the thwip and release when Miles first learns how to swing.
Yeah.
And he's like, I'm so proud of us. Is there anything you want to say to me? Like he's really, really wanting that gratitude from Miles. And then there's a similar moment later on where he's like, I love you. I'm so proud of you. Do I want kids?
Yeah, do I want kids? That's great.
So I really like that struggle that Peter B. Parker goes through with just maturity throughout the movie. I like the interaction with the actual Peter Parker in the beginning with Miles. Do you know your shoes are untied? He's like, yeah. He's like, this is a onesie, so I don't really have to worry about it. And then that scene in general where he takes off to go run up to the collider, I think was the first time in the movie I was like, ooh, shit, like this movie is like really well animated.
Yeah.
So that was kind of fun to have that reveal of kind of what I was in for the movie, because after how dope that looked with him running up there and swinging, I was like, okay, all right, I can do this movie. Some of these I know you're gonna have. I'm gonna
That's fine.
kind of gloss over them, but
I'll hit what you don't.
when Spider-Man is fighting Green Goblin and he's like, I can't let you. He's telling him, I can't let you open up a portal. He's like,
Staten Island would be fine.
yeah. He's like,
not Brooklyn.
I guess I like Brooklyn not being sucked into a black hole. Staten Island, maybe, not Brooklyn, which is fantastic.
Yeah, it's great.
You know anything about the worst part of New York. Miles, I am in the moment. It's a terrible moment. The Mary Jane, Peter B. Parker interaction, where he's talking about all his mistakes and she's just wanting bread.
Yeah.
For you, they should just fill this place up with fresh bread.
They're having two completely different conversations in that moment. Yeah.
Fucking Spider-Man Noir, everything about him. What a character. Can you close off your feelings so you don't get crippled by the moral ambiguity of your violent actions? Just everything he says is just gold.
That's fantastic.
I really enjoyed the super dramatic music and build up for Miles getting ready to jump his first building. Yeah. And then the music just abruptly cuts and he's running down the stairs to go to the shorter building. Just all that humor of this movie really hit for me. Where they're standing in the crowd, they're counting on me. The guy's like, probably not you specifically. I think it's a metaphor.
Yeah. Yeah, I definitely have that one in my notes for sure.
And all the, I guess, kind of sign gags or background gags. There's probably so many that I'm missing, but in Genki, the roommate, in his room, there's a Chance the Rapper poster from Chance's album coloring book.
Yeah. And
Chance's hat has the number 4.
Yeah.
It's typically the number 3. The Truist U.S. Bank, I thought that was pretty funny. Yeah. And then there was also Jefferson at the end talking about his phone. He's like, damn it, C-Mobile.
C-Mobile, yeah.
So just all those. And like I said, I'm sure I've missed a ton of them. But
Coca Soda.
Yeah, I didn't see that one. What else you got?
All right. Let's see. We'll start at the beginning here. Miles walking through his neighborhood. You definitely see why he doesn't like his new school. Like he just gets along with everyone in his neighborhood so well. Like all these different groups of people that he just naturally interacts with. Like it's, second nature to him. So makes it kind of surprising that he hasn't really found a group of friends at the new school. But he's still new. the with great ability comes great accountability line is that's just such a fun spin on the classic Spider-Man shit. I was kind of shocked that they kept the if the head right line in Hypnotized when that was playing. I was a little surprised. That usually gets edited out of like every movie that this song appears in, so I was pretty shocked.
I did notice that as well. It's like, huh.
The shoulder touch, that's problematic. That's a red flag, Uncle Aaron. I'm sorry, man. I don't know what to tell you. The text that Aaron gets that prompts him to leave the subway was almost certainly from Kingpin, right? I mean, that makes sense that it would, because he's like, his whole mood kind of changes as soon as the text comes in. He's like, hey, man, we got a jet. I got to go.
Yeah.
The anticlimax of Miles just swatting away the spider, that's just great. It's like this pivotal moment in his life, and he's just like, eh. I really love the scene where Miles is walking down the hall after getting his hand stuck in Wanda's hair. The use of the chromatic aberration, especially in the close-ups, where the colors are like a little off from each other, like there's like a little bit of pink or green kind of sticking out from each side, and the panels of people reacting. It's one of the most comic booky scenes in the movie, and I'm fucking here for it. I think you already referenced this early, at the very beginning. Play dumb. Who's Morales?
Yeah.
Not that dumb.
Yeah.
It's fantastic. The one scene we were talking about this earlier off camera that really just fuck the scene is right after that when Miles is fleeing and he just happens to climb through the window of his own dorm room. Yeah. And then the Spider-Man comic just happens to land directly in his face. Like, that's a little too movie shit for my taste. It's that's just really awkward storytelling, and it's where like the seams kind of show. It's like we have to bridge this with this, and we don't know how to do it elegantly. So fuck it. Here's what we got, and that's what we got, and it's very obvious that that's the case there. Dope Green Goblin character design.
Yeah.
I believe it's based on the Marvel Ultimate character design, but I don't really read superhero comics, and I didn't fact check this at all. Follow up: is Green Goblin dead? He was definitely not moving, and he seemed to be buried, and he does not appear again in the movie. So I assume he's dead.
I guess we'll never get his take on head trauma.
He seemed to be okay with it. I mean, he was fine pretty much immediately after. I think it's a Banksy. Might be the funniest line in this entire movie. I don't think I laughed harder at any line in this movie than I think it might be a Banksy. That was the funniest shit.
Post Malone.
Post Malone cameo. You already mentioned it, but that they're counting on me. Probably not you specifically line. That's so funny. When Miles, you talked about this earlier, when he jumps from the second building and he falls, how is he okay? Like, if he didn't die at the minimum, we're talking concussion and broken hip, like at the very minimum, there's no way he would just be fine from that, even with spider powers. I'm sorry, like, there's no way.
I meant to put that in my notes. I'm kicking myself because I was going to be like, dude, like, really, the goober being broken was the worst?
It's the only thing that really happened was the goober broke. Really weird to see the name of one of the actors who's in this movie on a marquee in this movie. John Mulaney's name appears on a marquee in this film, and it's just very strange. I don't think I've ever seen that before.
I did not catch that.
What happened to that guy on the bike during the chase scene through New York when Miles is attached to Peter B, and they hop on the bike with that guy, and then the door opens and the guy goes flying off the bike? I can't imagine things ended well for that guy. Are you a zombie? No. Am I a zombie? The am I a zombie line especially I absolutely love that. And the don't you dare finish that sentence when Miles starts with the with great responsibility line, or great power comes great responsibility line. One of my favorite Peter B. Parker lines in the movie. But there's always a little bit of time before everybody dies, and that's when I do my best work. That's so funny. When Miles Googles Alchemax, it has a 3.2 rating. I just thought I would point that out.
Oh, I didn't see that.
Another great Peter B. line. Cool. Step 3. I re-examine my personal biases.
Yeah.
Another great Peter B. line. Where's that wind coming from? We're in a basement. Followed by, wherever I go, the wind follows. And the wind, it smells like rain. I'm talking real hard boys. I'm talking hard boys, real biscuit boxers. What the actual fuck?
Dude, everything he says is fucking gold. And we don't pick the ballroom, we just dance. Oh, and when they're all talking about who they lost. Or no. It's when Miles comes in and he's freaking out. He's like, Uncle Aaron, he's the Prowler, and he's like, this is a pretty hardcore origin story.
Yeah. That's so funny.
And I'm pretty sure, if I'm not mistaken, right after he says that, Noir and Penny like kind of dap each other up. Like, nice joke. Like, I am in love with that character.
We'll get to that later. I have some opinions on that character myself. Prowler seems to have like his own kind of like theme, like a not really a song, but like a series of tones when he appears on screen. I can't describe it, but I think it's just fantastic. Like you know when he appears because that music hits every time, and it's just so good. John Mulaney reaching deep into the acting bag for the "You can't always save everybody" line. That was really good. I was surprised. Great speech by Jefferson through the door to Miles. Great pick me up. Put Miles where he needed to be. The "What's Up, Danger" scene. The shot where Miles, after he jumps off the side of the building, where he is essentially, it looks like he's ascending down into the city, and it's like my favorite shot in any superhero movie that I've ever seen. It is just the perfect representation of where he is at that moment in that movie. It's just fucking incredible. Then the fight with Kingpin, Miles does the adios and shoots the web and grabs the train and flies off, and you see what I thought was a Kingpin POV shot of the train fly away, and then suddenly Kingpin punches Miles through the train window, and I'm like, what the fuck is happening right now? I really did not understand that scene. That's all I got for quotes, though. Anything else you want to say about this before we hit that bourbon break?
Nope.
Sweet. Let's go get it. Welcome back to Must Have Missed It. We're going to move into the section called That's Just Like Your Opinion, Man. So, James, how did you feel about this movie, and how did this movie make you feel?
I was a little apprehensive going into this movie just because, as we've discussed on previous podcasts, I'm not a big superhero person.
Yeah.
Superhero movie person. I don't get the appeal as much as others do.
Mm-hmm.
I don't get excited for the next Batman, Superman, Iron Man, what have you. So I was worried that I wasn't going to like this movie. But I was pleasantly surprised, and I think it has a lot to do with the character of Miles Morales, but I really liked it. And before my second watch, as I told you off camera earlier, I thought I wasn't going to like it as much. I was a little worried. I was like kind of not convinced with the feeling I had after my first watch, but no, it was confirmed. This was a really dope movie and actually made me like Spider-Man.
Nope.
Sherlock agrees.
My dog's chiming in. So does this movie live up to the hype for you?
Yeah, I think so. I am actually really wanting to go see the sequel in theaters, and theaters is not something I do.
Well, I mean, movies in general is not something you do. So
I don't movie, and when I movie, I don't theater. E.T. was the last time I saw a movie in theaters, and that was specifically for the podcast.
Yeah.
And before that, oh boy, who knows?
Yeah.
I remember you showing me the trailer for the sequel before I had actually seen this movie, and I kind of didn't get it. I saw how excited you were, and I was excited with you, for you.
Right.
But I was like, I don't really know what's going on. And then after I watched this movie, I immediately watched the trailer for the sequel again and was like super pumped.
Yeah.
So I think I've become a fan, at least of this version of Spider-Man.
Oh yeah. So movie and music and movie magic. I did that absolutely backwards. What stood out in terms of sound design, costume, set design, score, or visuals?
The entire movie, like, holy shit, I have never seen anything like the way this movie looks, like, at all.
Yeah.
You talked about how the animation was done, but I just I remember my wife, while I was watching it, she was like, the movie looks like this? And she was really surprised at just how it stood out.
Yeah, it's very unique visually. I've never seen a movie that looked anything like this movie, and I mean anything like this movie. I mean, Sony has kind of a house style, I think, for a lot of their characters, but the way that the movie is animated, I've just never seen anything remotely close to this movie. The closest thing I've seen to this movie as a movie is Scott Pilgrim.
Yeah.
Which is a live action movie with, comic book elements. Yeah. And that's the closest thing I've ever seen to this.
And I think this is the closest I've seen an animated movie look to a live action movie.
Yeah.
And I think that's what's so cool about it. The movements are so authentic, so real looking. I mean, most animated movies, you don't get that. You're fully immersed in the fact that it's an animated movie. But this movie, like, there's times you can't distinguish the character movement from an actual human being, and that's really cool.
So what's really wild about that is the majority of animated movies use a lot of the same techniques that live action movies use, or they use a lot of techniques to give the impression of being filmed in live action, motion blur, things like that this movie strictly avoids, like intentionally avoids doing. So it's wild that the movement of the characters in this movie seems so much more vibrant and realistic than a lot of other animated movies, which are designed to look more like real life, like in the animation design. So yeah, it's an amazing achievement. Like I cannot say enough about the way this movie looks.
And the music in this movie, not only are there a ton of bangers in this movie, but when they choose to use the songs, when they drop them, and the specific sections that they use in songs, I think it's perfect.
Yeah.
This movie does an excellent job at capturing a specific energy with the music, and that really stood out to me. I mean, every time a song hit, I just felt like it matched the scene really well.
Yeah.
So I was really excited anytime a scene came that I knew there would be music. And man.
This is like one of the first movies I think that we've watched where like Top Bop was actually like there's fucking bops in this movie.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? It's
bops.
not just like which song from the score is our favorite, which John Williams track is our favorite. There's actual songs in this movie, which is fucking refreshing. We don't come across that very often in this podcast so far.
Yeah,
so
top bop is usually a challenge.
yeah, it's. I mean, there's been some movies where we just didn't even do it because there was no point. So it's good to have a lot of different options. Maybe too many options in this movie. It was really tough to narrow it down. Was there anything in this movie that didn't work for you?
There was the thing that you pointed out that I didn't even really pick up on when I was watching, but now that you're pointing it out, I'm like, oh yeah, that was kind of really lazy.
Yeah, it was very lazy screenwriting.
I can't say that I picked up on it when I was watching. I mean, it was odd that he ended up in his room. Definitely a thought that crossed my mind.
I mean, my thing is like, well, what if Genki was a DC guy and like it's a fucking Batman #1 landed in his lap? You know, like, is he gonna think he's Batman now? Right. You know, like just a little too much coincidence going on in that scene for my taste, but.
The shoulder touch scene didn't really.
Yeah,
I felt uncomfortable.
Yeah, man, you don't just touch people without permission. Like, if anyone is not aware that that's not okay, you don't just touch people without permission.
I was like, all right, Aaron's old school, whatever. He's like, trust me, it's science. I'm like, no, trust me, it's sexual harassment.
Yeah, trust me, it's assault, brother.
But no, not really, man. I think where this movie shows the seams and where it fails, I think it's easily overlooked.
Yeah.
I mean, the movie is dope, and there aren't enough moments like that to really give it that much weight.
Yeah. You know, I think this is a movie where, you know, like I said, that scene is not just a little thing to me. Like that's the kind of thing that can kill a movie for me. And this movie has strong enough characterization and enough heart. Again, the visual style that's just second to none, unparalleled. That it makes it easier to overlook that really fucking bad scene. It's bad. Flat out, it's bad. Fucking terrible screenwriting. But, you know, everything else in the movie works for me. So, you know, what am I going to do? There's one 30-second scene that I have a big problem with, and the rest of this movie is fucking perfect. So I'm okay with it.
Yeah.
We're going to take another quick break before we bring on a guest and move into award season. And we're back again with award season. We're going to start with favorite scene. Anya, what's your favorite scene from Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse?
The part where Spider-Man says to Miles that Spider-Mans don't wear capes, but then when they go into the cave and Miles sees a cape on one of the costumes.
So you like the scene where he sees the cape on the costume? That's a pretty good scene. What do you like about that scene?
It's funny.
Yeah. James, what's your favorite scene?
There's so many good scenes in this movie, but I think that objectively, and I don't really do that often, but objectively, I think the best scene in this movie is the leap of faith scene, where Miles decides, or Miles basically is forced into having to be Spider-Man.
Yeah.
Like I said, there's a lot of scenes in this movie that I really enjoy, but I think that did it for me. I think that was the hype, the pinnacle of this movie.
Yeah.
I'm not going to back down from it. Like, it's the
you.
dopest scene in the whole movie.
Yeah. I've got What's Up Danger. Like I said, the shot of Miles upside down, ascending down into the city is the most perfect superhero shot I've ever seen in a movie. It's just absolutely incredible. And you get a real good sense of his personality, what makes him different from Peter Parker as Spider-Man, just the way he travels the city and things like that. So it's just really good character building, and also shows the level up. And like I said, that shot, man, I don't have words for it. Favorite character. I have a feeling I know what you're going to say, Boo Boo. Who is your favorite character in Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse?
Gwen,
What do you love about Gwen?
her personality.
What about it? You just like her as a character? I hear you. I mean, she's one of my favorite characters too.
Yeah,
I don't have her as
character.
my top character, but she's up there. James, who's your favorite character?
I'm sorry, because we don't discuss these a whole lot before, but we did discuss this one, and I really tried to come up with a different answer. I'm really sorry.
Hey, man.
But mine is also going to be yours. It's Miles.
It's Miles.
And for me, the reason I couldn't come off of this decision was Miles made me like Spider-Man.
Yeah.
As I said before, I'm not a fan. Don't
Mhm.
care for Spider-Man. Don't care for superheroes in general. But Miles actually made me like Spider-Man and want to watch more about this story. Something about, I think it's every Spider-Man that I've known is already kind of cocky, already kind of a confident,
Yeah.
can do it all kind of person, and Miles is not that. And
Right.
And I really enjoyed this version of Spider-Man. I couldn't, as much as I love so many other characters that we'll talk about later in the awards, I couldn't not choose Miles.
Yeah. I find Miles just so much more interesting than Peter Parker,
Yeah.
who is fine. Peter Parker's not a bad character. I'm not here to bash Peter Parker. I just find Miles more interesting as a character. His relationship to his neighborhood, and you know, the relationships in his life are what makes him, to me, a lot more interesting than Peter Parker. Aaron Davis, Jefferson Davis, you know, like these father figures that have shaped his outlook on things, and they're so wildly different and opposed from each other. Just a lot more depth to the character, and just a great arc. I mean, obviously the best arc in the movie. The movie is about his arc, so it goes out saying he has the best arc. Peter B. Parker, great arc as well. Gwen has a pretty solid arc in this movie. She doesn't get as much screen time as I would have preferred. Hopefully she'll get a spinoff movie at some point in the future, or she'll be more prominent in the sequels. Favorite performance. Anya, who is your favorite performance? Mulaney.
John Mulaney. John Mulaney.
John Mulaney as Spider-Ham. What'd you like about his performance?
It's just, I don't know how he makes the voice of Spider-Ham.
The funny thing is that's like pretty much just his voice in real life. It's not that different, honestly. That's kind of just how he sounds. It's wild. James, what's your favorite performance in this movie?
I'm going to start with my honorable mentions, which are Mahershala Ali
Mm-hmm.
and Brian Tyler Henry.
Brian Tyree Henry.
Tyree. Sorry,
Yep.
excuse me. Brian
Good.
Tyree Henry. But I have to be true to my heart. And my favorite performance in this movie was Nicolas Cage. It really was.
There had to be a time where he was someone's favorite performance, so I guess this movie is fitting.
Yeah, and it's so shocking to me. I am not a Nicolas Cage fan.
Yeah, not either.
Mostly view that guy as a meme. But man,
Well, that's what's great about this performance, though, is he like really leans into that aspect.
Yeah. And I love it. I absolutely love how hard he went for it.
Yeah, it's a fun performance.
I mean, he completely went for it, and I'm all the way here for it. And again, Ali and Tyree Henry like knock it out of the park. I think Ali, I read some about him doing a lot of method acting and laying down for his death scene when he was doing that and just really putting himself in the moment. So I really appreciate that. But I just love the Nick Cage performance as Spider-Man Noir. I really do.
My honorable mention is going to be, I'm going to cheat. I have two answers for favorite performance for this movie. My honorable mention is going to be Jake Johnson as Peter B. Parker. I think it's just a really, it's practically perfect for the character. It's a version of Spider-Man that we haven't really seen, a much older, more jaded, kind of not a failure, but things didn't go the way he wanted them to go, for sure. His life hasn't been a rousing success by any measure. So it's a really interesting performance, really fun, really funny performance. But my two favorite performances in this movie are Mahershala Ali as Aaron Davis and Brian Tyree Henry as Jefferson Davis. I think these two actors are on a completely different level from almost everyone else in this movie. The way that Mahershala Ali can just switch back and forth between the villainous Prowler character and Aaron and Miles have one of the best relationships of any two people in this movie.
Yeah,
like they are very close, Miles loves his dad and obviously respects his dad and appreciates his dad, but you can tell he wishes that Aaron was his dad, like he just gets along better with him and, feels understood and seen. The funny thing about the Brian Tyree Henry performance is he didn't want to accept the role. He thought he was too young to play the father of a teenager. He's only in his mid to late 30s now. So he didn't really feel like he was age appropriate for the role. So he didn't want to take it until he found out more about the Miles Morales character and found out that he was the first Black or Latino Spider-Man, or the first Black and Latino Spider-Man. That's not true. There was a previous Latino Spider-Man. So that's what convinced him to take it. But just an amazing performance. The scene with him talking to Miles through the door is just very powerful, very well delivered. The scene at the end of the movie where he's talking to Miles on the phone is just incredible acting. Coolest hang. Anya, who's your coolest hang?
Gwen.
Gwen. That's who you'd want to spend your time with? Why do you think Gwen would be a cool hang?
I don't know.
Fair enough. James, who's your coolest hang from this movie?
My coolest hang is Peter B. Parker. At first, maybe doesn't look like the guy.
Yeah.
But this is a guy that clearly with his own struggles to worry about, he can still put others ahead of that. He decides. Miles guilts him a little maybe
bit, yeah.
a lot, but it's just an admirable quality. Someone that can put the needs of others in front of their own concerns.
Yeah.
Also, just a guy that doesn't take life too seriously. So that just seemed like the coolest thing for me.
Enjoys a good burger.
Yeah. We'll eat yours too, which
that's a knock. We'll give him the benefit of the doubt for that. I'm gonna go with, and this is a situation where you have to keep these two aspects of the personality very separate. Prowler, not the coolest hang for me, but Aaron Davis is absolutely up there. It's another one where it's hard to choose between these two different characters, so I'll name them both. But yeah, Aaron Davis again has a great relationship with Miles. Seems like a good dude. You know, I mean, obviously he's a criminal and probably a murderer, but you know, aside from those things, like he seems like a really good guy. You know, seems like somebody I would want to hang out with, spend my time with. You know, again, when he's not doing the murder stuff. And then also Aunt May. Really, there was a very specific moment in this movie where I was like, yes, I ride with Aunt May. And it's when Olivia Octavius busts in and she goes, "Oh, it's Liv." And I was like, that is just the funniest delivery of that line. So yeah, Aunt May is definitely up there for me as well. Toughest hang. Anya, who's your toughest hang from this movie?
Kingpin.
Yeah, I hear you. Kingpin definitely doesn't seem like a great guy to hang out with. What's your hang up with Kingpin?
If I ever tried to see him, I would just tell him his whole plan was wrong, and then he would just smash me.
Yeah, I definitely not trying to get smashed by Kingpin.
Yeah.
He killed Spider-Man. I don't stand a chance. James, who's your toughest hang in this movie?
No hot takes here. It's Kingpin.
Yeah, Kingpin. I hear you.
However, the woman that shouted, "He took a bagel," while Miles and Peter B are escaping the lab is a real Karen. It's a good laugh, but
Yeah.
man, like that's what you choose to shout. Like, get over yourself.
I have 3. None of them are Kingpin, amazingly. I alluded to this earlier, so I'll go ahead and put this one out. It's an honorable mention. I wouldn't choose this as my actual answer. It's an honorable mention. Spider-Man Noir. How the fuck would no way. I'm sorry. I'm not hanging out. I don't want to spend a minute with this guy. He is anybody who says things like biscuit boiler. What's the line? Biscuit boxer. Yeah, sorry, man. Nah, I'm good. Best of luck to you. Tombstone just doesn't seem like a very fun hang, but my choice is definitely I'm gonna go with Doc Ock, not Liv to me. Olivia Octavius, who tells Peter Parker that she's going to enjoy watching him basically come apart at the seams. Like, what a oh boy. Yeah, no, it's her for me. At least, like, Kingpin, I see what, I get it. You know what I mean? Like, obviously he's a villain. I'm not saying he's not a villain, but, like, losing people you love, you'd want to get that back in your life. So I get that, but I don't see anything with Doc Ock that I'm like, oh, okay, I get it, Top bop. Anya, what's your favorite song from this movie?
What's Up, Danger?
What's Up, Danger? It's not a bad choice. I thought about it. It was on my list. Do you like it because of the scene, or do you just like the song, or what?
Both.
Both. I hear you. James, what's your top bop from the song?
I have 3.
Pretty disciplined for this category, actually.
Yeah, there's I really could have 5 or 6. So I think my official choice is also going to be What's Up, Danger. As a song alone, I don't think it would be my top bop.
Yeah.
However, combined with the feeling of the scene.
Right, the way it's used, yeah.
The song on its own does carry a certain energy, and that's why I chose it, because a song energy is everything in a song to me.
Yeah.
And this one definitely has it. But I also really, really, really enjoy La Familia.
Mm-hmm.
That song also gives me a very specific energy, and it's like hey, like, I'm gonna fuck you up kind of energy. And then I also really enjoyed Hyde, the Juice WRLD song.
Yeah.
definitely puts me in the feels about my lady, about my wife.
Yeah, I hear you.
So those three for me. But man, like, you'll probably mention a couple of the other ones. Like there definitely are 3 or 4 more that I wrestled with on this list.
Yeah, I also have 3, and they have not been named yet. I'm going to go with Elevate, the track during the end credits, which is just like the most, I think the most me song on the soundtrack. You know, what I look for in hip hop, the style of hip hop that I tend to gravitate towards. It's the most me. I also really enjoyed Save the Day, which reminds me of something, and I just cannot put my finger on it, and it's driving me crazy. I was talking about this earlier. I don't know what it is, but it just gives me this kind of nostalgic feeling for something I can't even put my finger on. And then Vince Staples' Home, just a fantastic track. I believe it was used in the trailer for this movie originally. But yeah, I mean, just bangers, like all across the soundtrack, just bangers.
Yeah.
I mean, we didn't even talk about the Hypnotize. I mean, I mentioned it earlier, but yeah, just great music.
Yeah, those 3 that you picked were definitely also an early consideration.
Yeah.
Well, maybe not Home. I don't think I listened to that one that much, but the other 2, yeah.
Yeah. Favorite villain, Anya? Who you got?
The Prowler.
What you like about the Prowler?
That he's like he's really fast, and that he has his own motorcycle.
Yeah. Gear. That's what it comes down to. Yeah, it's kind of Spider-Man, or not Spider-Man, but Batman-like with the gadgets and such.
Yeah.
James, who's your favorite villain in this movie?
So I have an honorable mention to Prowler, but I went with Kingpin. As far as villains go, he checks all the boxes, man. He's ruthless.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, absolutely ruthless. You know, he has, as you mentioned just a few minutes ago, has some real motivations for what he's doing.
Yeah.
You know, he's had a lot of loss, whether he caused that or not. You know, there's actually a reason behind the things that he's doing. He's not just being a villain for the sake of being a villain.
Right.
But yeah, it just really comes down to, I mean, he just crushes Spider-Man with his hands 20, 30 minutes into this movie. I mean, this dude is not effing around.
No, not at all.
So yeah, I thought it was pretty refreshing to have, you know, a PG movie with this ruthless of a villain. I was like, oh, they went for it. Also, the performance,
very good.
Yeah, really
Dave
dope.
Shriver is really good in this movie.
Yeah.
I don't think we talked about him earlier when we were talking about favorite performance, but he's really fantastic. I didn't even realize it was him until I was doing the research for this movie. I was like, wow, really? I would never have guessed. I don't remember who I initially thought it was, but I was like, oh, wow, that's pretty surprising. I also went with Kingpin. I think the important things for a comic book villain is that they need to be compelling or interesting. So you need to either something has to stand out about them, or they have to have motivations that you understand. And I think he checks both of those boxes. His design is just really great. Absolutely, he establishes himself as a threat from the very beginning of this movie. I mean, before he even kills Spider-Man, he's just taunting Spider-Man. He, hums the theme song or whatever while he's fighting his goons. So yeah, just really excellent use of this character in this movie. Hottest bars. Anya, what's your favorite quote from this movie?
Watch the hands, not the mouth.
That's a good one. Yeah. What do you like about that quote?
How it's like funny when Peter B. Parker says that to Miles, and then Miles says it to Peter B. Parker. Like when the student becomes the teacher.
Yeah, definitely. That's a good point. James, what's your favorite quote from this movie?
All right. So I guess it's more of how I interpreted the quote and how it made me feel and how I related it to myself. But it's Miles. It's in the end when he's giving his recap. And it's specifically the section where he says, "And when I feel alone, like no one understands what I'm going through, I remember my friends who get it. I never thought I'd be able to do any of this stuff, but I can. Anyone can wear the mask. You could wear the mask. If you didn't know that before, hope you do now." And for me, it was just that feeling of found family and knowing that there are other people that just get it.
Yeah, that understand the struggle. Yeah, for sure. It's funny because that quote didn't have any real emotional weight.
Yeah.
When I was watching the movie, but hearing you say it,
Yeah.
totally changed my opinion. Like totally changed how I felt about that line.
Yeah.
I would love to say that I chose something super profound from this movie. I did not. My favorite quote is I don't know if it's hard. There's a lot of really great lines in this movie, but I'm going to go with but there's always a little bit of time before everybody dies, and that's when I do my best work because that's
really
just
good.
It's just so. I mean, it's just superhero movies in general. You know, it's like, I mean, like kind of like that whole kind of running bit through the movie. Watch, he's going to say, "You have 24 hours." And the Kingpin says, "You have 24 hours."
Yeah.
And then he's like, "Oh, that sounds bad." Actually, all the things she said sound bad. I was lying before. Like just that kind of whole running joke about, hey, man, this is what it means to be Spider-Man. Is you just hear this stuff all the time. Like this is just routine stuff for Spider-Man, you know? Like it sounds crazy to you, but for me, it's just Tuesday, you know, or whatever. Yeah. So yeah. Where we at? Right in the feels. Anya, what was your choice for right in the feels for this movie?
When the dad is talking to Miles, like in the dorm, when Miles has
the web over his mouth and he can't talk back.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. What'd you like about that scene? Excellent. James, what do you have for right in the feels?
Nicolas Cage as Spider-Man Noir / John Mulaney as Spider-Ham. I absolutely did not see either one of these characters coming, and I love this movie that much more for both of these characters being in it. Much like how I'm assuming Rakakuni made you feel in Everything Everywhere All at Once, I just could not have this movie without these two, and they just provide me with such joy all the way throughout this movie.
That's fantastic. I guess I'll choose for my honorable mention because I have two again. I'll go with the Jefferson speech to Miles as my honorable mention. I really think it's probably my favorite emotional moment of this movie. I think it's the most emotional moment to me. But I think the one that I find a little more, I guess, inspiring is the Peter B's return home. The "How do I know I won't fail again?" And Miles saying you don't, you know, and he's like, "Oh yeah, leap of faith." Like that's just a great moment in the movie. You know, it brings both characters full circle, so it's you know, a great character arc moment. In addition to being, you know, a goodbye for both of them. Because Peter B has to leave not knowing what's going to happen to Miles, you know, like they because it's the same thing for both of us. I can't watch Spider-Man die, whereas it's guaranteed that Peter B is going to die if he doesn't go home, and Miles at least has a chance against Kingpin. So, best fit. What's your favorite outfit from this movie, Boo Boo?
Miles.
Miles, the costume at the end, the black with the spray painted spider on it. Yeah, it's a good costume with the Jordan 1s, and yeah, I like it a lot too. James, what's your favorite fit?
Same answer as Anya. I didn't think I was really picking the unpopular choice or anything. It just is what it is.
Yeah.
It's a dope fit.
I actually went with Spider-Gwen. I think that costume is just phenomenal. I mean, that is the coolest looking Spider-Man costume. I mean, like having the hood on it, like that is so sweet. I mean, it'd be cooler if she was wearing like some Air Force Ones or something. But I mean, with the ballet shoes, I think it's a really cool touch, like a very, that's specific to her. So yeah, that's a great fit. I guess I'd give an honorable mention to Spider-Man Noir. It's a semi-ridiculous costume, but it's fun. I don't think I could pull it off, but it'd be fun to rock, I guess.
I did like the hood part of Gwen's costume. The rest of it was like a little Pink Ranger for me. But like the hood look from the neck up is definitely dope for me.
I also really like the look of Doc Ock in this movie. Like I kind of, it's a pretty out there idea, but like I guess more like a more grounded, honestly, look for Doc Ock than what you usually see in the comic books and stuff. We're gonna move on to our John C. Reilly. Anya, if you could take a character in this movie and replace the actor with John C. Reilly, who would you replace?
Kingpin.
Kingpin. Wow, that's an interesting choice. Why do you think John C. Reilly would make a good Kingpin?
I don't know if he would make a good villain, kind of, but I chose Kingpin because what I know John C. Reilly for is for
Wreck-It Ralph. Yeah.
And Wreck-It Ralph and Kingpin both smash stuff.
Makes sense. James, who do you have as your John C. Reilly for this movie?
Scorpion.
Scorpion? Interesting. Yeah.
I don't really have a reason.
Yeah.
John C. was very difficult for this movie, man. Like, I might change it when I edit the podcast. Who knows? Like, I still haven't come to a full decision. So Scorpion.
Yeah, I don't know if this is a wild take or not. It's definitely not a take that you have for sure. My John C. Reilly for this movie is Spider-Man Noir.
Okay.
I don't know that John C. Reilly would be better than Nicolas Cage necessarily, but I think it'd be fun. It'd be just really fun to watch. I would really enjoy watching John C. Reilly play like a 30s gumshoe. Like, it'd just be really interesting to me, like a weird ass Benoit Blanc kind of character. So that's who I chose.
Yeah, I really struggled with this one. Like, I always struggle with John C., but I was like, dude, I don't even know. I really don't have one.
I mean, I generally find it harder for animated movies than live action movies in general. Someday we'll probably do Wreck-It Ralph, and then it'll be a really, really weird
John C.
category. Like, who are you replacing with John C.? But he's already in this movie, right? All right, so we're moving on to our basketball team. Hopefully everybody picked alternates. We did not do coin flips ahead of time, so hopefully that's not going to come up. So, James, remind us who you already have on your basketball team.
I have from Must Have Missed It Season 1 and Harry Potter, Professor Hagrid. And from Star Wars The Last Jedi, I have Chewbacca.
Who is your basketball team selection for this movie?
at small forward Doc Ock,
Nice.
or Liv if you're a friend.
I'm not.
8 arms.
Yeah, it's helpful. I mean,
definitely.
defensive menace.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I mean,
Kawhi Leonard.
I don't know who's really coming into that defense of Doc Ock and Chewbacca in there, but
Yeah.
good luck.
Yeah, that front court is menacing.
Yeah.
Anya, who would you choose for your basketball team?
Prowler.
Prowler? Good choice. I like Prowler as a choice. Why do you think he'd be good for a basketball team?
Because he's really fast and he can like run and no one can catch up to him.
Yeah. Fast break.
Fast break, yeah.
Yep, leading the fast break every time. So far on my basketball team, I have carried over from season 1. I have Jake Sully from Avatar, and from Star Wars The Last Jedi, I have Supreme Leader Snoke. So we're not worried about chemistry on this team, clearly. So my basketball team selection from this movie is going to be starting at point guard, Peter Parker, like OG Peter Parker,
okay.
Miles pre-death, of course.
Yeah.
Miles Universe Peter Parker, who just seems like the idealized version of Spider-Man to me. Just seems like a natural athlete. Can kind of, always. The main thing about Spider-Man is he doesn't quit. That's the biggest thing, and I need a floor general that, no matter what the circumstance is going to give 100% effort on every play, and Peter Parker's that guy. MVP. Anya, who is your MVP from this movie?
Gwen.
Spider-Gwen. What makes Gwen the MVP to you?
Her overall character.
Yeah. Yeah, she has a good impact on Miles. She definitely helps him grow, mature, I think. Like I said, I hope she gets a lot more of a role in the second and third movie than she got in the first one. I'm grateful that she wasn't completely cut out of the movie. That would have been a shame. She's too good a character for that. But I just wish there was a little more focus on, some of her backstory or personality outside of her interactions with Miles specifically. James, who was your choice for MVP of this movie?
The 200 and some people that were part of the animation team of this movie.
Yeah, absolutely.
Obviously don't know all their names. I didn't want to just name the lead animator because it was all of them as a team.
Yeah.
But I think that they added an incredible, a crucial amount of value to this movie.
Oh, for sure. I think this movie has a good script and good characters and acting and all that stuff, but it's the way this movie looks is what separates this from being just another cartoon. You know what I mean? It's the visual style of this movie that really elevates the material to the next level.
And it indirectly tells you that, indirectly tells you how much care went into it and just how, it's a work of art. This movie, all movies are works of art in their own way, but this movie is truly artistic and amazing. I can't wait to watch it again.
I did a thing I don't usually do for MVP. I don't think I've ever really thought about MVP this way before with regard to a movie. I think the animation team this movie would not be what it is without them. Also, I think without Lord and Miller and the producers of this movie having a very specific idea of what they wanted to see, this movie look like, this wouldn't be the same movie. Without some of the performances, this movie wouldn't be the same movie. So it was really hard for me to narrow it down in that regard. So I guess I kind of approached it from a different line of thinking. And I was like, who's like the winner of this movie? And to me, the winner of this movie is the character of Miles Morales, who was, I mean, if you're a comic book fan, you know who Miles Morales is. If you're a Marvel fan, you're probably familiar with Miles Morales and you probably know some stuff about him. But to 99% of the people on the planet before this movie came out, Peter Parker is Spider-Man. What do you mean there's another Spider-Man? Like, who was Miles Morales? And this movie just completely changed that. The success of this movie, I'm not going to say it directly led to the Miles Morales Spider-Man video game, but it didn't not. Sony made both of them, so I can't help but think that there were people looking at one and thinking, okay, this is gonna be big. We can do this. It's they didn't really have to take a chance on the character after this movie hit, and I believe from what I've read, the sequel is tracking to do $75 to $100 million opening weekend, which is half of what this movie did in North America in its entire run in the first movie. So this movie did so much for that character and this IP that I'm going to go with Miles Morales as the MVP of this movie.
Word.
Any other final thoughts on Into the Spider-Verse?
I don't think so. What about you, Anya?
Nope.
So,
James, the question we always have to ask, would you watch this movie again?
Yes. And
Excellent.
I have a confession.
Mm-hmm.
I watched this movie 3 times.
What? Usually it's like I will watch it twice because I have to watch it twice. Like it's tough to get. Like there are times where I'm like, man, like, come on, man, it's 4 hours to watch this movie twice. You can manage. So that's exciting to hear.
Obviously watched it twice for the podcast, and full disclosure, Josh and I work together, except now we don't.
Nope, not anymore.
Today was his last day.
Last day.
I was having a particularly hard day at work today, and Josh carried the weight, put it on his shoulders, was like, hey, man, like, go rest up, come back and finish up. And I went home. I had some trouble sleeping, and I was like, you know what? I'm going to watch it again.
Yeah.
So I watched it again. And thoroughly enjoyed it, watching it 3 times this week.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I would definitely watch it again, and probably even going to go with you to see the sequel. So
yeah, looking forward a couple of weeks where I can't wait. I've been talking about this movie for a year and a half easily. I mean, I am so hyped for this movie. It's so soon. It'll be even sooner by the time this podcast actually releases. You'll be like, oh, well, that's like tomorrow. What's he talking about?
Right.
That's the magic of podcasting, is how long it is between now, which is Zelda release day, everybody. Yeah. If you're not playing Tears of the Kingdom, what's wrong with you? Are you also making a podcast? Because if you're not, why are you not playing this video game? That's what I would be doing if I wasn't making this podcast right now.
Well, time is all relative.
It's all relative. Anyway, why don't you send us an email? Tell us how you feel about Into the Spider-Verse. Are you excited for Across the Spider-Verse? Do you not give a crap about Spider-Man? Is Batman your favorite character? Do you like the Teletubbies? I don't know. Just send us an email. We don't care. musthavemissed@gmail.com. You can follow us on Twitter at musthavemissed, on Instagram at musthavemissed. Check out the TikTok at musthavemissed, and make sure you join the Discord. We appreciate everybody out there for watching. Thanks for listening. We look forward to seeing y'all next time. Chewbacca.